You'll recall that recently we interviewed the chief executive of the Liverpool BID Company about the vote that was taking place in respect of the accommodation bid in the city. Delighted to say that vote was successful, went the right way. So an accommodation bid will now be established in Liverpool, and I've got Bill with me today to give his reaction. So great news, Bill, as far as that's concerned.
Hi Frank, yeah, I'm delighted that the hoteliers came out and they voted 84% in favour of an accommodation bid. It will be the first in the UK when we launch it officially from the 1st of January 23.
And how much money will that mean is coming into that visitor economy for Liverpool?
Our initial projections are that the private sector will deliver over the next 4 years and 5 months, just a technicality wise that period, but they will deliver 4.3 million. And then that will also lever in from the combined authority through the single investment fund, a further 1.3 million that's been earmarked for that. So £5.5 million that will be spent on behalf of the hotels, and that's the hotels across the city. So this is not a city centre, this is a whole city approach to it. And that money will be spent in the way that we said in our business plan.
And so that's a significant amount of resource that's going to be going into support events, to support that vital visitor economy that we know is so important to the economy of Liverpool. In terms of how that money might be spent, what are the sort of plans and proposals for that?
So that money is combined together with also the money that we already have within the destination marketing SIF and the business events SIF. And those two SIFs alone were bringing in another £5 million. So around £10 million will now be committed. That money will be spent in a number of areas. One of those is about business events and business subvention for the large conferences. So we see that the Labour Party conference comes to Liverpool and is committed to coming to Liverpool in 23. The work that we do in the accommodation bid will support that. It will also then support smaller conferences and events, those conferences that come in perhaps to the universities or into the conference centres up at the spine, into areas where the hotels have also conferences. Those conferences need support, and that will be included within that cash. There will also be money for sporting events. We saw last year, just at the end of this year, you had the World Gymnastics, great event down on the waterfront. They again need support, and we know the city is bidding to be one of the host cities with the new Bramley Moore Stadium for the Euros in 2028. And this allows a fund that other sporting events can be bid for. And then, of course, a major part of it is destination marketing.
And in terms of the importance of that sort of funding, when you look at the pressure local authorities are under now, in terms of being able to support that sort of activity, it's absolutely crucial, isn't it?
It's vital, which is why we set out on the journey to deliver the private sector response and provide private sector with the controls that will enable them to ensure that with a growing supply of hotel rooms, great hotels coming on stream, but we need to be able to control the demand, and we need to be able to stimulate and encourage demand. And that's exactly why the private sector, through the existing bids, which Liverpool BID Company manage, and the accommodation bid, which will now come on stream, it gives them money. More importantly, though, it sends a message to the public sector, particularly the combined authority, that if they provide the support to the private sector will respond backwards. And we know that when the Arena and Convention Centre was established and opened in 2008, for those first important years, they were supported every year by a subvention fund, by over £1 million that was given to them to support and encourage conferences coming into the city. And that's been a remarkable achievement because it's delivered constantly, hasn't it? We know that now. But that money came from the public sector, particularly through the City Council. And we know the City Council is going through very painful budgeting exercises at the moment. And that's why I believe, and I've advocated for it continually, that the private sector needs to step up, and they have done. And particularly now we see that they're willing to come on board and actually increase the amount they give.
Yes, so important, that public-private sector partnership approach, which we've seen successfully applied to so many initiatives in recent times in Liverpool. So we've now got an accommodation bid, we've got a commercial district bid. I think the retail bid, is that up for reballot this next 12 months?
It is. So Liverpool BID Company launched the first, in fact, one of the first bid companies in the UK to launch a bid. Just a little bit of the backstory on that. Liverpool BID Company was established by the City Council through Liverpool Vision and the Chamber of Commerce as the company that would deliver business improvement districts in Liverpool. It was always the vision that Liverpool BID Company would be the vehicle to deliver business improvement districts in Liverpool. And so Liverpool BID Company did that. We launched City Central back in 2005. That went through a ballot in 2008 that was successful again. In 2013, it was successful. In 2018, it was successful. As we've changed the way that the BID Company have operated, we changed the title from City Central to become Retail and Leisure because it expanded away from where it used to be right in the middle of the city in the St. John's Centre, Church Street and Lord Street. Oh, that was where retail was, for those remember what the city was like before Liverpool One opened. But it has expanded over the years. And in 2008, it included Bold Street, and it's grown since. This year I say this year because we're coming towards the end of 22, so I'm looking into 2023. In 2023, we have to come to a renewal again, and we go to ballot in the spring and around about March. But we've already had approaches from organisations outside of the core area of the Retail and Leisure District. If you remember back in 2021, when we went for the commercial district ballot, we actually increased the area to coverage to cover the waterfront and to take us through the commercial district into areas like William Brown Street and Lime Street. This time we're being approached by the organisations further up the hill. So we've already had the board approval from Hope Street CIC for Hope Street because they want to join the BID Company and the Retail and Leisure bid. And we're in discussions with the Knowledge Quarter as well about expanding the retail bid to include that. That will take us to a retail ballot in the spring. Just a couple of technical points that people would be interested in. One of the things we've also done, and this has been a strategic positioning from the BID Company, is we've increased the rateable value. So we increased the rateable value for businesses that meet the threshold. Those below the threshold don't have to pay. So in the culture and commerce, it's a £45,000 rateable value, and above, only they pay the levy. In the accommodation bid, it's for hotels and accommodation providers with a rateable value of £45,000 and above. So we're looking now within Retail and Leisure to have a similar rateable value, £45,000 and above, would be the people who have to pay the levy. That's not to say that those below the levy will not get any benefit from being in a bid, but we just understand that for a small business, for a business that has the rateable value less than 12,000, or actually between 45 and 12, it's a lot of money to be having to pay. And sometimes I can understand why people feel that they don't get a benefit from a bid, but actually the bid team will still deliver for them. They'll still deliver the work that we do on street, the cleansing. They'll still deliver the animation. More importantly, they'll still be part of this great city that we are pushing forward with the money that we're spending on destination marketing and on subvention. It's about a strategic approach from the private sector, bringing the whole sector together.
And so if we end up in a situation where, and I assume this will happen because it's been so successful, the retail bid, that gets continued. As I say, we've got the commercial district as well. We've now got the accommodation bid. At what point do we take in the whole of the city centre in terms of a single city bid?
I think, had we been starting the journey from now, we probably would be looking at a whole city approach to it. But we're not in that position. So other colleagues in other bids across the north, Newcastle, Leeds, have one large city bid that delivers on behalf of all the private sector businesses in the city centre. I think we need some serious conversations with the other areas in the city about coming to join within the work that we deliver. Because, the work that the Liverpool BID Company delivers, I say, is mandated, is authorised by the city itself to work on behalf of the private sector. And so the key point is, if we need to be a successful city, we don't need to fragment, we need to work together.
I think that's the important point, isn't it? The fact that we've got one entity running the big company rather than having this sort of disjointed approach of people going off and doing their own thing. We work, as you know, in Birmingham, and there's lots of bids in Birmingham, not having a pop at any of them. I'm sure they all do a good job in their own right, but they don't have the same sort of coordination, cohesion that we have here in Liverpool.
Exactly right, and that's the way that we've set up the company. So the company operates the bids as individual bids. They have individual reporting centres, they have their own board, but they work to a central strategic direction, which recognises the independence, perhaps the quirkiness of a little nature. I mean, some of the work that we do is actually hyper-local. So we're looking, let's say the work we're doing around Williamson Square at the moment, focusing the attention of the amount of development opportunities there are in and around Williamson Square, recognising the work that we do in St George's Quarter, looking at the work on the waterfront, delivering for the Waterfront Partnership. All of those are recognising individual areas, but it's about working together.
And the final point I'll make, I know this caused you some consternation when the local newspaper said that the bid had saved Christmas, and you wanted to disabuse people of that notion, because although you've contributed, of course, to the great feeling and environment that we've got this Christmas in the city centre, that's been an ongoing relationship you've had with the council, isn't it?
Yeah, I think some people like to sort of show that the fact that the council and the business community are at loggerheads with each other. And occasionally, we're not at loggerheads, but we're in severe disagreement with them. That's certainly not the case about Christmas. So it was great that Echo said it was a miracle that we'd stepped in. But as I said the other night, that miracle was a miracle that began many years ago, and it began with constructive conversation. And Liverpool BID Company has been the major contributor to the Christmas animation and Christmas lights in the city. Without the BID Company in the centre of the city, and certainly without the BID Company in the retail area of the city and commercial district, there'd be no Christmas lights, there'd be no animation on the streets, there'd be nothing within the... it just would be a very blank and very dull. And we understand, you know, that the City Council has to spend its money, perhaps not on Christmas lights, but it has to spend its money, sadly, on social care, children's services, the vulnerable, homelessness. That's where the city has to provide and support. Our job is just to be able to deliver on behalf of the businesses, but to deliver it well. I mean, the other good story, actually, just as we're finishing up, is the Eurovision story. And the City Council were able to call on us to deliver support for the Eurovision bid. So not only did we actually provide over £300,000 in terms of financial commitment, and that went into the bid, that enabled the BBC to see that the City Council had private sector support. We've agreed that we will underwrite the Festival Village at the Pierhead up again to another 300,000. But you know, we also paid for the great video that was produced by the Guide, that was paid for by the private sector, and indeed the bid document that the City Council submitted again was paid for by the private sector. So the private sector, through the BID Company, are able to commit those resources in a way that supports all businesses across the city. Because I'm sure the whole of the city centre and the city will benefit from Eurovision when it comes.
Absolutely. Bill, I won't see you again before Christmas, I don't think, certainly not in terms of a video interview anyway. So all the very best.
Thank you.
And the very best of luck next year with the retail bid as well.
Thanks for that, Frank, and thank you very much for all the work that you do downtown on behalf of the businesses in the bid areas.
Cheers, mate. So, big year coming up again, 2023 for the bid. Never a dull moment, always a ballot to be won, and I'm sure that one in the retail bid will be successful. But I think crucially important next year, having the conversation about how we maximise this opportunity. It's a unique opportunity we have in Liverpool to get the bid extended to take in the whole of the city centre, give us those additional resources we need to promote and market Liverpool in the best possible way that we can. Great to be with Bill Addy, the Chief Executive of Liverpool BID Company, here again today, and I'm sure that you'll see us together many more times between now and the end of 2023. If you enjoyed that video, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel on the link below and be among the first to get to listen to all the latest interviews through the Downtown Den.